Being with God is a relationship. Since God created the devil, I'm sure he gave him the chance to prove himself, just like he gives us the chance to prove ourselves. He paid the price. He's a fallen angel who went to hell and rules the planet. Because God is a balanced, righteous judge if you don't listen or follow his laws or love. Because God's laws are to love you. You'll be held accountable. My mom died from cancer and my dad from stage 4 kidney failure. Not because God caused them to suffer. It was probably due to sin, a broken world, and their own bad choices. Through redemption, they hope to live better than in heaven. If you're struggling, realize that God loves you and wants to know you. Since I'm always in my body, I can envision soaring through the air, right? I can account for standing and chatting to someone. However, brain harm or car damage is something I can imagine. I can fathom seeing myself in a dream, but all of that happening at once. Imagine a scene I'm in. It's not hard to fathom since I've seen myself on tape. But having all three things happening at once and being aware of them. I remember it, but it's hard to convey. It seemed typical, like I'm a two-handed person, right? The fact that I can feel different things with each hand doesn't bother me. One hand is on the cold table and the other is clutching a cup of coffee. Two input streams. Both are fine with me and I'm used to it. I practice it. However, I had never experienced these three streams of awareness. It made perfect sense. Perfectly incorporated, it looked normal. So, do I have experience being that way? Have I practiced multiple awareness, more broadly increased awareness? Do I perceive awareness beyond a physical body? It seems likely, probably. Naturally, this conversation is fueled by half a decade of rigorous meditation and everything else that lead to my awareness opening. I would suggest that the unusual element is not the numerous perspectives or broadened perspective. The narrow view is unusual. Actually, I'm not used to it. My bodily self is used to looking out of these eyeballs, feeling with this skin, and being physically present. My consciousness is considerably larger than that, so that's remarkable. My consciousness is far more than that, and to experience existence as a person, I must filter it into this tiny packaging. I believe that has merit. It's like looking through a microscope at the smallest sliver of something. You've narrowed your focus to one thing, but you're seeing it in detail you wouldn't otherwise. I live in this physical Earth system as a person, like a probe sent in, eating, peeing, and doing all the things humans do. I must collect all this data from this angle because the probe can only handle so much. Real intelligence, the consciousness that sent the probe into the world, is vastly greater. Just like a Mars rover gathers data about Mars, human scientists processing that data construct a more sophisticated system with more awareness than the little Mars probe with its sensors. I'm not criticizing the Mars probe. It's cutting-edge technology. Does that address your query? Not sure. It's fascinating how you answered. What about love? Did you feel more love in these enlarged states of consciousness than on Earth? I have love tattooed on my arm and remind others that God is love. Perhaps love best describes the ultimate nature of things. Meditation has helped me see love as the interconnectedness between all things, like the Holy Spirit in the Trinity. It links everything. Just love exists in that area because you're so. I speak for myself. Much of this was unclear at the time, but reflecting has clarified it. I felt overwhelming tranquility in my second experience. This made me believe the second experience. The sense I didn't remember was there. It was overwhelming peace, and I think love is a good word for it because of the connection. My human body seems distinct from everything. Even physically, it's not distinct. I breathe air that every individual on Earth breathed. I breathe oxygen that Jesus, Gandhi, Hitler, and everyone else breathed. We're always swapping substances. Even if I want to think of my body as separate, it's not. When you consider the ecology, Earth as an organism, mind, and everything that, except for that, we usually act like I'm this creature. I associate myself with my body and this probe, making it feel like who I am. I'm the probe, distinct from you because we're not the same probe. Despite breathing the same air, drinking the same water, etc. But this kind of, just an assumption. That's crucial. Perspective, not fact. When I say, this is the truth, then act on it. It becomes my worldview. It's just perspective. It's never been truer since I'm acting like it, right? Perspective is still only that. Being in that other place, or dead, or having this awareness, love is this sort of, its meaning to me. This indicates connectedness. I think it implies being stripped of my body and consciousness. I stop seeing my body as its source and wholeness. I can then have this awareness scope. As I said, the black tunnel is full of information. If I could have explored the black too, I'm sure I'd find many connections. I had that sense, right? That tremendous complete feeling. It's like walking into a sauna or other hot, steamy room and feeling overwhelmed. It's like that, but not overbearing. Imagine walking into a powerful, vast sense, a sense of connection, like breathing, seeing, and experiencing for the first time. In that sense, love increased. It may be difficult for me to answer because love has a smaller connotation. I love my wife, my human wife. But so many parts of love are reduced to ecstasy, right? Which is affected by brain chemicals and other factors. All of this is leading to something, and that something is what love is. A connection shared not because I feel it or have a nice feeling for someone, but because we're coming from the same place. In the same place. We're sharing this human experiment, whatever you name it. We may do it from very diverse places. When I remember that perspective, I can look at, I won't mention names, but there are world leaders like Hitler that I strongly disagree with and consider evil. These people are merely nasty, and I disagree with all they represent. Okay, but that's a human. Their birth. They had childhood experiences. Shame plagued them. It embarrassed them. They had an overpowering love connection to another person in some romantic situations, but not others. Like me, they experienced all these human experiences. They chose, I'm going to do it like this, or I'm going to do it like that. I've chosen, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to do this, and everything. These surface connections pale in comparison to this deep relationship. With my current experiences, I believe everyone is here for a reason. That purpose doesn't have to be planned in before, like I'm going to come and do this, and solve this problem, and preach to the people, or whatever. Like a carnival, it doesn't have to be organized that way. Some people go to the carnival thinking, oh, I've got to go on this ride, right? I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to buy the candy apples, while others think, we'll just see what's going to happen, you know. Some individuals merely wanted to turn up for another ride and see what happened. Some individuals come to feel severe agony, while others come to experience this, since we're all probed for various experiences. How can I, if I'm not a body, but a higher consciousness, right? This much more enlarged feeling of consciousness. Yet I've decided to come in as a human this time to experience particular things. How can I experience all that is being human as one person? Just can't. It would be nearly impossible to do. So I come in as this person, that person, you, this kid, this person in another nation, and then we all, it's like sticking my finger in my tea to see if it's hot or cooled. Stick my finger in. My finger doesn't define me, right? My finger is an incomplete being. Just a little. I send a probe to acquire information, which the whole entity integrates. Next, I touch this thing with a different finger and acquire these diverse senses. All are awakening to a higher consciousness. Was there more love? Yes. All in all, sure. Someone said, ask him a question only if you want the answer. You were talking about how we all come into this life, this world, to experience different things, and I've seen people say, well, I can't believe in a God that would allow such and name some horrific event. What do you think? How could a God allow a person to be hurt, for example, in the general sense of any kind? And it's like, all right, well, if you parse that, what would happen if a human being, suppose my life were exactly like it is right now, but I never experienced any pain? I'm just physically incapable of experiencing pain. So pain is not inherently bad. Pain is a message, and that message is about something. The problem is that in the Buddhist perspective, existence is suffering, and the origin of suffering is desire. It's hard to wrap your head around that, but it's true. It's like, If I stub my toe, that could be the worst pain I ever experience. In his books, Bob Monroe described a meditation in which he asked to see different lives he had lived as a human, and he had this flash sense of all these different lives, including a life where he was a baby and died as a baby. That image always stuck with me because it's a classic. From his perspective, that was part of the experience. It's like, why does anyone watch a movie where anyone suffers? I mean, why? Think about it. Why would you do that? Why would anyone watch a sad, painful movie? Why would I want that? Why would I want someone else? But it's part of the experience, and we're gathering this information and intel, and the idea is that Skywater Peace, a 40-something-year-old human male, says that child is 5 years old, suffering, innocent, and doesn't deserve that. The mind that formed the infant knew it would join that world and may have planned with whatever consciousness does. I want to learn this time. I've lived lucky lives and wish to experience deprivation. How will I know without trying? And construct a life where I'll face lack, pain, or whatever. It's demoralizing to think of children as innocent, right? Though benign, it's disempowering. Who am I to argue that someone who's only been alive for 5 years has less human experience than me? Because maybe that person is in their 57th human incarnation and is still more in touch with all that collective consciousness than I am, which they say is why human children have more easily expressed psychic abilities, because society hasn't taught them to not have them. They remain closer to their genuine nature than we are. Again, this assumption. Okay, well, an innocent child is suffering. That filters that person's mind through mine. It may sound harsh, but this is a highly egotistical view. This is extremely. I used to think like this, right? I used to view everything egotistically. But I don't think that I would want to be having that experience, and therefore it's wrong for anyone to have that experience. Apart from this example, I don't think I would want to have that experience, so therefore it's wrong for anyone to have that experience, is the core of all discrimination, right? So what sort of God would cause a child to suffer? Flip that around and ask the question, not rhetorically. Imagine a God who says, we're going to carve off a piece of myself, the infinite consciousness, and we're going to allow it to experience its own little bundle of consciousness separate from the rest, so that it can have a different perspective. You can get a different viewpoint than when you're on the ground, not whirling around or whatever, like on a carnival ride. We peel off part of ourselves to become this cluster of consciousness. Then, cluster, you can accomplish anything. Your independence is complete. Go through misery if you want it. Experience grandeur if you desire it. You want to experience. But when I think of reality as my perspective in this human body, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, right? Why is it like this? Seeing this as one probe of many makes it make more sense. Okay, I can do this. We have diverse personalities and life experiences to learn from. Like working out at the gym, right? You don't go to the gym to lift light objects, right? It's not why you go. The more difficult the gym workout, the more you'll benefit. You intentionally put yourself in a difficult situation to, what? To grow yourself physically, which just like that, with life, I go into a challenging life to grow myself spiritually, to rack up all kinds of, you can call it karma, good vibes, or whatever, but to bring back this experience of how to handle that situation, including how to mess it up right. You don't lift, or you lift too hard and tear something, or there are more ways to have this experience. During your discussion, Ions, you claimed we would be amazed if we could see the energy flowing between us. I'll start part 3 with that inquiry. What do you mean by it, and how do you know? Stein and I were having a terrific talk, and he had a lot to contribute, so I broke it into 3 sections so I wouldn't miss anything. Please share your ideas. I welcome your feedback. Also, if you've made it this far, please say "made it" in the comments. Continued support is always appreciated. So thanks everyone. Please return for section 3. Thanks for coming. Beyond with Heather Tesh. Leave comments and questions for prospective guests. Like what you heard. Thumbs up and subscribe. That'll sustain this podcast. Check Beyond with Heather Tesh for more episodes.